America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mayor Purcell is away, so you get Deputy Conklin for the night. It's not going to be nearly as exciting as it is with Jim. Okay, you ready? All right, first thing on the agenda. We need to approve the minutes from the 6th and the 20th. I need a motion.
I make a motion.
I'll second. Okay, Cole. Wayne?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Deb? Aye. So carried. Okay, next we have budget transfer modifications. Has everybody had the time to review them?
You got minutes from 20? Oh, you did them together?
I did them together. Oh, did you have?
I didn't hear that. No, it's all right.
Are you sure we can go back?
No.
Okay. Does anybody have anything on budget modifications?
Budget transfers?
Transfers, any?
I make a motion, we accept them as submitted.
I'll second. All those in favor? Mr. Sham?
Aye.
Mr. Dwyer?
Aye.
Mrs. Berenger? Aye. Okay, so carried. All right, Justice Court Independent Audit. Got nothing on that, right? Okay, whereas in accordance with Section 2019A of the Uniform Justice Court Act requiring the village justice annual provide their court records and dockets to their respective village auditing boards, and that such records be examined and audited, and the fact be entered into the minutes of the board proceeding it hereby. Let's see, hereby resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby acknowledge that an audit of the Village Justice Court cash receipts, cash disbursements, and cash balance was made for the year ending May 31st, 2016, was made by the Village Independent Auditor PKFO Connor Davies, LLP, Harrison, New York, and no discrepancies were found. I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? No? Call the question?
Aye.
Oh, wait, Neil?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Okay. All right, this is the public hearing. So we have to set a public hearing for the 2019 budget. Resolved that the Board of Trustees authorize a public hearing to be scheduled on Thursday, March 22nd, 2017 at 2018 at 6:30 p.m. on the proposed June 1st, 2018 to May 31st, 2019 tentative budget. Was there any discussion?
Motion then. No, it'll be right before our board meeting.
I'll get it.
Okay.
I'll get
That's
it.
our board meeting night, right?
Yes, that is the board meeting night. So I need to put that in the form of a motion.
I will.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Aye.
6:30. Okay, call the question?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Public hearing scheduled for the 2018 CDBG project proposal.
2019.
Sorry, correction, 2019. Okay, resolved that the Board of Trustees authorize a public hearing to be scheduled on Thursday, March 22nd, 2019?
2018.
Okay, 2018 at 6:45 p.m. to invite public comment and suggestions regarding projects to be considered for funding under the Orange County Community Development Project program. Under this program, a variety of physical improvements follows are eligible for funding. Acquisitions for disposition of real property, public works, public facilities, or site improvements, code enforcement, that's housing and health codes, clearance, demolition, and rehabilitation for public use or economic development, housing rehabilitation loan and grants, special projects for elderly and handicapped, provisions for public service, that's shelters, clinics, senior nutrition, etc., payments for non-federal shares of other grant programs, and relocation payments and assistance. Deadline for that is April 27th, 2018. I need that to be put in form of a motion.
I'll make the motion.
I need a second?
Second?
Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Please.
Go ahead, Wayne.
You go first. go ahead.
Neil? Somebody go first, please.
Okay, all right. I think we need to push that public hearing out. I think that you've got that scheduled same date as our budget hearing, public.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think we need to focus on that. There'll be public comment, I'm sure, and there'll be conversation and so forth. So I think it's best that we consider as a board to look at it that way. Let's
Push it back a little bit.
push it back into April somewhere. First meeting in April.
Well, I think.
I don't think you should do the first meeting in April.
Well, then maybe
I would
just
do the
kind of-
second meeting in April.
What is it? It has to be done by.
You
27?
Oh, no, there's a deadline on it.
Yeah, the application has to be submitted by
By
April
April
27th, so you do not have that much time. If you don't do it next meeting on the 22nd, then it should be the first meeting of April.
That's what I'm saying, so the first meeting in April, so you can act upon it the second meeting of April and submit.
I'm sorry, say that last part again.
You should put it on for the first meeting in April and then make decisions at the second board meeting of the 20.
It would be the 17th,
Because that gives you no time to file. The deadline's the 27th to file.
because we don't do the filing. The filing will most likely be done by the engineering firm that handles the project. In the past, it's been Light and Tully.
Okay.
So I don't know if that will allow them enough time to gather everything that they need.
Well, can I just ask this? What is your concern about having both public hearings on the same date?
15 minutes apart.
Yeah, not enough time. I was gonna bring up the same point.
All right, so what if we increase the time?
But, yeah,
Sure.
but in the past, if people were talking about the budget and it ran over 6:45, we continued with that and just, the meeting got pushed back a little in the past. So we could do the same thing, but I didn't know this, that's what I was, 15 minutes.
No, I understand that. My only concern is you're now crunching yourselves as far as getting the opportunity. I mean, there's an opportunity to miss this, and I don't want that, I don't want to see
Yes.
that happen, so
Can we make one 6:30 and one 7, and then have the meeting start 7:30?
I would probably,
Is it a little time?
We do a
You
5:30
could do it.
Or you can,
or a
you can start
5:45.
your agenda.
Yeah, it could be part of the agenda.
You can open, you can do a 6:30 public hearing. You can put another public hearing as part of your agenda for the 7 o'clock. Start your meeting and open the public hearing, that's fine. And then you can be as long as you want.
Or start them earlier, which is up to,
What does it say, 6:30?
the budget's at 6:30, community development's at 6:45. you
So
would
can we do a 6 o'clock budget and a 6:30 for this? Are you guys good with that? Start at
Can
6?
everyone make the 6?
Yeah.
I can.
And that gives us a half an hour for each, and then if we have to,
It
we'll,
runs over.
It runs over.
You can't start it before, can you?
We have to go back.
okay, so let's amend it.
Right.
So we're gonna amend it to 6 PM for the budget. And 6:30 PM. Okay, so I amended the times, we have to redo this, so.
Yes.
I need a motion.
Okay, motion.
Thank you.
A second.
All right, so you're back at C with the amended time?
Yes, 6
Okay.
o'clock and 6:30.
All right, so you made a motion, you second?
Yes, Debbie, Wayne made it, Debbie seconded.
All right, so
So
we'll
call the question, Wayne?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Deb?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, 2018 local PSAP application? Okay.
Well, okay. You went back and amended the budget, did you do the CV
Yes.
Yes, I did,
6:30?
6:30.
That's it, okay.
I did them at the same time, I'm sorry. Can you see I'm trying to get through this quickly? It's extremely painful over here. Okay, this is the 2018 local PSAP, which is Pedestrian Safety Action Plan. We talked about this last meeting, and meeting before that, actually. Okay, whereas the Village of Monroe has the opportunity to apply for a Pedestrian Safety Action Plan, PSAP grant, offered by New York State Department of Transportation. Whereas the purpose of this grant is to improve pedestrian safety, specifically to connect streets in and around the village with the installation of crosswalks, pedestrian signals. Now for their resolve that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Monroe authorize Creighton Manning to submit the application on the village's behalf that includes a non-refundable application fee of $2,000. So I need that put in the form of a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
You want any discussion?
I do.
Go ahead.
So we talked about, we had gone out with DOT people a couple months ago. I went out with the chief and we looked at several locations. So with Craig Manning getting on board now with this, will they go back to those same locations that we had already discussed 2 months ago maybe?
Did you receive the paperwork that was put in your mailbox?
I'm looking for it now. I don't have
Because in it, it was a 2 or 3 page
it. Location?
item that came from Doug Teeter that I believe laid out specifically the areas that he was referencing. I printed them and I printed them in everybody's mailbox.
In my car.
So everyone
The rest of
read
them
email.
now.
It was actually 2 pages. It's an email from last Thursday and this breakdown indicating the locations.
Can I just say?
Yeah.
Can I just take a peek there?
I'll
Absolutely.
have him make copies.
Stand by.
Oh, he's got it.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, so he's got the Vista Lane in here. And he does not have,
What was the other one you were talking about now?
the other one was up by the Empire Line.
17 now.
Yeah, he's got the ShopRite, unless that's what he's referring to here. He's got ShopRite listed, but
No, I
that's
don't
not
think,
appropriate.
I, no, but I think that there was discussion on, across from ShopRite as well, so I think it's two different.
All right, so these are conceptual and a list of, so we could probably, I would think add that.
I can have him at 17 and by Empire Diner, or actually it would be Mill Farm Parkway.
Yeah,
And that would, no, that wouldn't be that, well, it might be. Mill Pond Parkway, Airplane Park, there's already a crosswalk there.
Right.
So I think there might be some confusion as to,
yeah, this is that's down on Mill Pond.
yeah, but there's already a crosswalk there.
There is, I'm saying,
Right, so my concern is maybe he's,
check, making.
right, misplacing
Okay.
the actual crosswalk. All right, so we'll have, MR, can you reach out to him?
Go over again. Crosswalk Empire Diner.
Right, so it's gonna be Mill Pond Parkway and 17M. And then you can reference Empire Diner for the crosswalk. Please.
Okay.
Are you good with that now?
Yeah,
Neil, what was the first one that you mentioned? Oh, it's on.
yeah, it's Vista Lane, that's
Okay.
definitely an issue.
But is this part of Village Freeland and Bakertown?
I don't think that's incorrect, probably.
Yeah, this says Freeland Street in Bakertown.
Freeland Street.
Yeah, I don't understand why it would say Bakertown from that, not part of.
Freeland and Hidden Creek,
Fifth one down.
but the fifth one down, it's got Bakertown Road on it.
I don't know, unless he's thinking like spring? Freeland and
Yeah, but where
Bakertown.
would you get the return road?
I don't know, add pedestrian signals to crosswalks.
I just wanna see what
Does he
the
think that?
time frame is for this.
I also have a question, just for research, but like, you've got Freeland Street, Hidden Creek Boulevard. Would this have been part of their site plan for their final approval?
You know what, Neil, I'm gonna table this just because there's a couple discrepancies, and, I think it's in our best interest to.
Yes.
So, Freeland Street, Hidden Creek,
Yeah, oh yeah.
I do not know.
Hidden Creek.
I'm wondering if he thinks it's like Freeland.
Freeland and Hidden Creek, Neil, you wanted to know if that was in your site plan?
Right, but
Okay.
as council just advised, it might be a good idea to reach out.
To the building department?
Secretary and
Like,
get some
Or planning board,
clarification.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then our second question was Freeland at Bakertown.
Yes.
Not sure where we're going with that one. Okay. And then we want to clarify airplane park and Mill Pond Parkway?
Right.
And this is the issue. According to this documentation, the applications are due no later than March 9th, which is Friday.
I think that's an issue. Can you, that's Friday. Could I reach out to Doug?
Yeah, but we're not meeting again. So what do we do with it?
Well, maybe
I
this,
say I believe from the conversation that I had with Doug, the issue is primarily getting the board to authorize the $2,000 application fee.
And I have no issue with that. I think if we can just clarify the streets, which by the way, I don't think is going to be a problem. It's us filing for the application. So if we can prove the $2,000 filing fee, then we can
modify the improvement.
quickly clarify this without missing the deadline. Only if you're comfortable with it.
Well, I know sometimes when when you've got granting agencies involved, you have different regulations behind the dollar value. And I'm thinking that if that's the case, that may affect the integrity of the number. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Well, would it be, this is my inexperienced question, if you pass a resolution to accept the $2,000 fee, but then we find out from Doug tomorrow or Thursday that by your concerns resulting in any modifications will ultimately affect the cost and it makes it more expensive, we can always opt to not submit the application.
Well, we don't have time. Application's due Friday, yes?
But if he can answer the questions, I mean, I can fire off an email to him tonight.
We can pass the $2,000 fee.
Well, that's what I originally said,
Contingent
but
upon acceptance and clarification by the board.
if you guys are comfortable. Scott, you want to weigh in on this?
Well, I'm just looking at the email, I guess, that came in Friday. It says, if you look at the second full paragraph, where they quote Exhibit A1 estimated, the second sentence says the 2,000 feet is to prepare and submit the application, which is complete, and that is not reimbursed by DOT.
Correct.
So this is obviously a consultant that's working with the village, but I don't want to have a resolution provided to them tomorrow or Thursday, weather permitting, and they just shoot it off, and now it's like, so I would just want some really,
There's not enough time. That's just, there's not enough time.
I don't think you're,
you can, you just have to tell the consultant, listen, we authorized it, however, but it's still, another action is going to have to be taken, so it's.
Right, but the problem is there's no guarantee in the short amount of time that it's going to be done accurately at this point. So that's, you know what I mean? I don't want to, in the law, but I want to make sure that we're getting this right. And I don't know that I think time is an issue here.
There's also, the other component of this, and I haven't seen the full proposal, but as you see in the body of the information from the consultant, there's a potential that we would be responsible for a 10% match, but
Yes.
this cost 57, so it's just another consideration if that's budgeted or you're prepared to, it goes on to say there might be zero,
Right.
but we have to be prepared to match up to 10% if you're successful.
it's not budgeted, where is it coming from?
So those might be questions that you would need to dig into before we even pay the $2,000 contingent expenditure.
No, I agree, and I think the second part of this that's troublesome is that the consultants that we met with the DOT actually said that there were several crosswalks along 17M that would get done, but on the DOT's timeline. Now, if they're in here,
Right.
we just can't go about doing it,
Correct.
right? So I would think that's a bit of a problem for me too.
So then can I just say we're just going to put this to bed?
think we have enough information.
We don't have enough time anyway.
That's my personal opinion.
All right, so,
Is there any indication that the deadline that you indicated could be extended? I mean, I don't want to say put it to bed, but just, no.
I
we
don't know.
We don't know, so I wouldn't put it to bed necessarily.
all right,
but
so
just
then I'm gonna table it. I'm gonna
And
table
share
it.
the concerns with the consultant and see if it can be extended, and so that you may be able to revisit it at your next meeting, is probably appropriate.
Well, I mean, I could try to call back tomorrow. I don't know if they're on.
Probably be known today.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
probably
if you want to
does
email
that.
something, that's fine. All right, moving on. 2018 Independence Day fireworks. Okay, resolve the Board of Trustees approve the contract with Legion Fireworks Company, 10 Legion Lane, Wappingers Falls, New York, 12590, for furnishing and conducting a fireworks display on July 3rd, 2018, rain date to be set July 6th, 2018, in the amount of $15,000, 15% deposit of $2,250 is due at the signing of the contract, $12,750 due immediately following the display. So I need that in form of a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Wait,
Second.
call the question?
Talk to
Good
discussion.
Oh, discussion?
Yes.
I don't want anybody to talk.
Who's chipping in for this?
The usual characters,
Okay.
So is that
which is the town and the village.
And can you repeat the email again?
It's 15,000,
That's what
which is 15%
last
due.
year.
I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have kids in sometimes.
Howard contributes and the town of Monroe contributes.
Right, okay.
So I think they're 5 each, right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
All right, so a motion,
Aye.
Neil?
Just hang on a second.
Sure.
I'm going to finish my thought. So we've got a contribution from them. Is it identified?
The dollar amount?
Yeah.
No.
Why don't we get that identified? I mean, it is a deposit, you're going to sign a contract, notwithstanding, I just think that all should be in writing. You should know what that all is,
The amount from each town, you mean?
each municipality.
I don't believe that the village requests a specific amount. I recall last year sending a letter advising that we are planning our annual and basically asking for a contribution, and then they just send us a check. And from what I recall, the last year was what they contributed the year prior, but those numbers are, you know, I would have to look
Both
at
of
them.
course comes to the village, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, it always does.
Yes.
Sorry, so we pay more.
We always do. I think one year we paid the whole thing.
So getting that clarification and acting on it next meeting would be an issue?
Well, it's certainly not an issue. My question to you then is, if they choose not to participate, are we not going to hold the fireworks?
I'm not suggesting that, I'm just suggesting that we know exactly what everybody's participation is. You're signing a contract.
Well, we're going to sign the contract regardless with the firework company if the board approves it. It's not contingent on how much the town or the village of Harriman contribute. It's our contract with the fireworks company, so.
And I also think too, perhaps, I could be mistaken, but last year I believe we got payment from the town of Monroe after the fireworks display. And it was at that point that we were aware of what they were contributing.
When do we have to sign the contract? Does it say?
It does not have a date, but the sooner it is
Yeah, then we
signed,
just wanna
we
lock it in
Before they
can,
go somewhere else.
exactly.
All right, so the resolution actually doesn't say that anybody's contributing, so,
And it never has.
and right, it never does. Because it's a contract between the village and the firework company. It's not a contract between 3 municipalities.
No, yeah, I get that, I understand.
So I'm just asking for you guys to give
So,
permission to sign the
Are we thinking
contract.
maybe we sign the contract and maybe at another meeting we can discuss asking
Well,
for
here's the
something?
thing, I mean, again, we send letters out all the time, it's up to them whether they want to choose to participate or not. It's our decision on whether or not we want to sign a contract with the firework company to hold fireworks this year.
Right.
It's just that simple. Is
Right.
it something we're looking to do, or is it not?
I think it's.
No, I definitely want to do it.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so then let's call the question, Wade.
I voted with it,
You
yes.
did? I'm sorry. Neil?
I-
Deb?
Aye.
Okay.
Neil, was that yes?
Yes.
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 This is,
All right, Neil, we have a stop DWI. Do you have that?
You don't?
You don't.
Anybody?
I can talk to this if you'd like. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So this is an annual thing that the county puts out
Yeah.
for all its local municipalities that have police departments. And it's their Stop DWI program where there's basically collaboration, cooperation on certain times of the year where they focus on DWI enhanced type of patrols. And there's a financial share. The contract is the same as years past from a legal standpoint. There's no issues. Is that coming from the chief or is
this
that?
came from the chief.
Yeah.
So it would be just looking for a resolution to
Authorized
sign
to
that.
sign.
Sign it.
And it's the same contract every year. And if it's got the chief's support, I don't see any other issues with it. I didn't see the chief's memo, but I'm presuming it's something that.
Would you like me to read it?
You don't have to, I mean, it's just,
Okay.
the cover letter, if it's something he's reviewed, the monetary amount, that would be the only other question I would.
The key to it, though, just so we're clear, so everybody else understands, is that if you don't show production, if you don't show stops, you don't show, I'm not saying you show DWI arrests, but you have to show action. And that's all data that's collected and given back to the county, and they review it based upon that, and the grant is based upon that. You don't get it for nothing.
It needs to be in motion.
Do you want me just to read the resolution?
Yes.
All right, resolve the Board of Trustees approve the agreement with the County of Orange that authorizes the Village of Monroe Police Department to participate in Stop DWI Traffic Safety Program for 1 year. First period is from 3/15/18 through 5/29/18 for a total not to exceed $2,625, 40 hours. Second period to run June 30th, 2018 through September 4th, 2018. And the third period will run November 1st, 2018 through January 1st, 2019. The term of the intermunicipal agreement is 3/15/18 to 1/1/19. It is further resolved that the board authorize Mayor Purcell to execute the agreement on behalf of the village. Need that form of motion?
Make that motion?
Second?
Second.
Call the question, Wayne?
Aye.
Neil?
Aye.
Deb? Wayne?
Penalty waiver claim for auto customer number 22. Instead of summarizing, I'm going to read the whole letter. I'm writing regarding penalties assessed to the above referenced account. The water bill for May, August, and November 2017 was sent to the wrong address. This was not an error of the village. It was just a mix-up for which I bear most of the responsibility. This error has been corrected as of January 2nd, 2018. The penalty for late fee was $769.51. That amount represents 45% of the initial charge for the water, see attached. The bill was paid in full, base and penalty. I am not in the habit of being late with the water bills. This was an aberration that has been corrected and will not happen in the future. I fully understand the rationale of the board to impose penalties, but I think in this situation, the fee is very excessive. I respectfully request that the penalty be reduced to $100 and remain to be credited towards the account. I make a motion that we charge them half of the $769.
I'll second it for discussion. This was, he has somebody that's actually running that business, correct?
Yes.
And the water bill went there instead of he to where it normally would go, and he didn't advise him, I remember this.
We've just been having a lot of these kind of issues lately. Those are just kind of,
Do we know if was he making the assumption that the other guy was paying the water bill?
That's what I don't know, because it's May, August, and November, that's a long time.
Yeah. Wayne?
I'd have to find out. I think that's what was happening, but I'm not 100% sure. Just had a discussion a while back.
Okay.
I do.
All right.
We had no contact with the owner of the business, not the owner of the building.
Right.
It was after the November bill was issued that he came in and made quite the scene, was verbally abusive to staff at the window, and left and came back and continued, at which point he was asked to leave the building. At which point then I contacted the building owner and explained the situation and advised him that that gentleman was not welcome in this building. And this is what happened, at which point we were informed that there was a mix-up because this particular property owner owns 2 pieces of property along Mill Pond Parkway. The address was updated for one account but not the other. He had no explanation as to why the owner of the one business in question was not either paying the bill or forwarding the bill on to him, but he then came in and made good on the outstanding bill, including the penalties. That was in December, so it's a little shocking that in the end of February is now when we're getting a request to have the penalties reduced to by $669.51.
The statement ends January 2nd, 2018. So on February 2nd, or March 2nd, do we have status?
I can tell you that the property owner was in last week when he came back from vacation. I guess he's been away since beginning of the year after the holidays, to check on the water bill status of this particular property in question. It had been paid. Subsequently, the other property that he has that has never been an issue had an outstanding bill, and he has since paid that.
So he's paid the actual usage, not the penalty.
Everything has been paid
He
for.
paid everything.
Yep, it sounds like a tenant, it's not our issue, it sounds like.
And I do remember coming in here the day that he was yelling. I didn't see him yell, but some of the staff were kind of shaken up at the way he was.
It was not pleasant.
I can't even say pay bill because he already paid it.
Okay.
All right, so your motion is to,
I said half, which is
384.76.
okay, well, I'm gonna call the question.
I'm reading the letter, and it's saying, it was a mix-up for which I bear most of the responsibility.
Because it is the property owner's responsibility to advise the water
Right, so
department
it's
where
not-
the bills are to be sent to.
Right. It's not where we've gotten some of the past that say, I never received the bill.
Still sounds like a tenant issue, though. I mean, look, he's owned the property, he's owned the building, he's worked the property, he's worked that particular business. He knows he's getting a water bill. If he didn't work it out with his tenant, that's not on the village taxpayer. That's my opinion.
And just from the private sector side, I can tell you, I've had clients both in the village and other local municipalities. I'll talk to the village in particular. They bought a commercial property, they will not be the occupant of the property. When the client contacts the village, they're advised you can have the bill sent directly. But also, if you go to our website, you can monitor any property in the village to see the status of payments. It's incumbent upon you as the owner. So, the other thing I would point out, just from a most likely scenario, I presume this is a commercial lease, this is additional rent, the tenant is responsible for all water, sewer, utilities for the property, including late charges. So while the owner may have paid this, there's a very good chance that anything he's paid out of pocket or the entity's paid out of pocket is being passed on as additional rent to the tenant, especially if it's their responsibility. So again, just for your consideration when you make a decision.
Okay. You want to change that?
I made the motion already.
What are you doing?
Okay, let's call the question.
Who seconded it?
I did.
You
I did
seconded
for
first.
discussion.
So it's a motion to reduce it by half?
That was
That's
correct.
motion.
The half?
That was his motion.
I gotta say that.
No,
There you go.
Is it good?
Okay.
no.
Deb?
I'm gonna say no.
And I too am saying no.
Okay.
Okay, mayor's report. I don't have a report. I do want to say that I went to the active shooter drill at the movie theater, and wow, is really all I can say. It's interesting to sit in a building, and here was the interesting part for me. I was a spectator, I didn't take part in it, I just wanted to watch. So I sat up in the back of the movie theater with a bunch of gentlemen who, when Chief Conklin said, he runs a very safe, demonstration, and assured us that all guns that were in this building were empty or they were blanks, and so he says, is there anybody here that has a gun? And to the left of me, 6 gentlemen raised their hands. And I found, well, that's interesting. Not because they ended up being all retired in YPD, and of course they all carry. I carry, but I didn't carry to an active shooter. I thought to myself, my God, if I'm in a movie theater, seriously, think about this, and somebody comes in and starts shooting, and I'm sitting there with my family, and somebody next to me pulls out a gun. I don't know who they are. How frightening is that? That they could be a cop, a retired cop, on duty, whatever, or it could be somebody with that guy down there. You don't know how to respond to that. I was terrified, thinking, oh my God, you don't really know who's who. It was so frightening. So it was incredible. It was eye-opening. It was amazing. The ambulance, Wayne was there, and
It's on YouTube.
yeah, I saw it on YouTube. I saw it. It was,
And also News 12 ran it very small.
even though it was all organized, it was still so frightening and real. It was incredible to know that anywhere you are, mall, anywhere you are, the person next to you have a gun. And you just don't know. It was just eye-opening, and I was so grateful that it was done. I think Tony did a great thing for the employees there and for the community. I just applaud them all. They did a wonderful job. It was really incredible to watch. Ambulance Corps was amazing. I mean, you guys were, they carried Tony out and dropped him. I watched you too. It was great. Anybody else?
Yeah, one thing I was to say, the active shooters went very well. And I commend Monroe Police Department for putting it together in such short notice. They did a wonderful job. Also, in your boxes, you'll find from the water department.
Yes, I saw that.
There's your budget coming up, the projects, and the emergency plan in case transmission lines we're working on. Okay, so just for your review and discussion at a future.
This is actually fantastic. I read it.
Yeah, at a future board meeting. That's all I have.
All right. Oh, I did want to add one other thing. Village Hall will be closed tomorrow. Town Hall is also closed. I spoke with Tony. He closed Town Hall at 7 o'clock tonight, so it's better safe. Yes,
No, go ahead.
better safe than.
No recycling pickup either.
And right, there's no recycling.
I did have something,
Go right ahead.
just for the agenda for our next meeting. I want to bring in, I know John Glendon will be here, and Chief Conklin will be here as well. I want to bring up Scotty Monk and that whole area from the village out. There's a lot of issues going on out there.
I took a ride out there actually after we talked on the phone. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to discuss
There's-
vehicles, garbage,
Actually, if
pitch
you're
drinking.
gonna discuss garbage, there's a couple other things that I want to add to that for you. Maybe you can. I think 17M is atrocious. Gilbert Street, no matter what we do, it just is always, it's a landing zone for garbage. I don't know, a lot of the other streets, and I really don't know what the remedy is for that. I don't.
Well, Scotty Monk's issues are several. I mean, you've got, it's a main thoroughfare, number one. Number two, it's got a grade issue, and it's got a couple of curves in it, speed limit issues, and, you've got to bring it up. So it'll be good, Margaret.
Noted.
All right, and then, the second item was the towing ordinance. So I think we've gotten to the point now where I think it's pretty well set for everybody, whatever it is.
Well, I had a couple of questions actually, and I don't know, do I address them with you guys, or do I address them with the chief, or? I don't,
Whatever you need. Anything?
well, I don't know, there's a lot of things I didn't understand, so as I was reading through it, I noticed that there were some, first, I mean, you have to excuse me, I don't know really much about towing, or, why do we charge them a fee? I don't know why we're charging it. I know we've always done it, I'm just curious as to why we're charging this specific business a fee. What are we supplying that we're giving them? I don't,
Well, it's almost like a franchisee, it's like, somebody coming in to do business in the village, and there's a cost of doing business. The village clerk has to deal with the issues that come up, both in applications, both in processing paper, keeping it current, making sure all their violations, if they find, were to find any on the PD side, are being dealt with. So there's logistics involved here, and I think it's a good thing. I think it brings ownership to the table, and
so is that, we only charge them, we don't charge every business in the village, right?
yeah.
So it's just towing and cabs,
And right, and what?
and the cabs, right? We charge them also?
Well, we will be.
But we're going to. Okay. Actually, I have a whole list of them I left in, where am I going? Okay, that I have right here. Okay. And, all right, so I talked about the $1,200. I also noticed that you guys raised the rates, or you want to raise their rates. Like, just for example, their day rate is $85. And
Okay,
you're changing it to 115, is that correct?
that's correct. Well, that's proposed.
Proposed,
Right.
but then you've increased their license fee 200, so it's actually back to 85, so there really is no increase there.
Well, it depends on how many tows they do during the course of the year. If you're doing the math, and you're saying that the increase in the fee for the yearly application has been increased to offset that, is that what you're pointing?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like it makes much sense, and why wouldn't you just leave your license at 1,000, and
Leave
then,
their rates at that rate? I'm good.
and then rate,
I don't
or
know if
raise
they
the
should
rates or
decide.
whatever, I don't, and then there's this whole winching thing that I don't understand, like, don't you have to have a winch?
One of the major issues,
I really don't understand it, I really wish that,
well, it's a cost of doing business, right? So, I think, or I believe from my research, that the last increase was back in '07 or such, and I don't think they've had one, to my knowledge, in my research since. Having said that, you're trying to be user-friendly. They do get a license to do work here in the village, so you're addressing their concerns. They came here, we had a public hearing.
Yes.
We kept it open for written comments. We gave them an extra 10 days. They referred to that, and I think based upon that, we came up with a fee schedule that's appropriate, so that they can, keep up with their costs as well. The average increase was between 28 and 37%.
okay. So, this is another question that I had. I know we charge $1,000 licensing fee. What do we do with that money? What's the purpose of the village taking $1,000 from Freeman's, Loyal?
They'll go into the general fund.
But what's the purpose of that for us? Other than just saying it's the cost of doing business. Why are we charging them? What are we getting from that?
I just explained that to you. I said there's a cost of doing business with the village clerk, right? There's processing paperwork, fees, compliance, ongoing issues. When there are issues, PD has to go over and deal with these vehicles. They do full checkups on them.
That would be inspections.
Sure.
And are we holding them at a higher standard of inspection than normal? Because I know I did talk to the chief about actually level 1 inspections. Are they required to have a level 1 inspection?
They're not required. We do it. We have a level 1 certified police officer.
Mhm.
He does it, and they're happy to comply, and they have complied for many years.
Does that give them anything special, Dana? Like, if it's a level 1, which again, I have no idea. I tried to reach out to the DOT to try to get some kind of definition on it. do they get anything from a level one? Like, I'm assuming that these
Usually either a
inspections.
compliance or a summons. one of the
Well,
two.
no, because I've seen Steve I've seen Steve doing these inspections on the side of the road with like tractor trailers and stuff.
Right.
Obviously, it's a rigorous inspection. I think probably more than what they're required to do. So my question is, do they get like some kind of certificate or, you know, we're giving them a level one inspection and then Steve's doing a DOT inspection on the side of the road. Are these guys running through it again and then, you know what I mean? Do they get a sticker saying, that's it, you get a free pass, or they're gonna get every level one inspection every time they
No,
go through?
they're going to meet the requirements that we have set in the village under that ordinance. And
So one time, or multiple times?
every year.
No,
Oh.
you're not following
It would
me.
be-
Yes,
it
in
would-
other words, if Steve's running a DOT inspection station,
Right.
go ahead.
So the theory is that any company that wants to have the right to tow a vehicle within the village would apply for a towing license. The local law, you already have it in your books, but you're looking to adopt some changes, not many, but some changes.
Right.
There's a whole litany of things that a company would have to successfully pass before the license is given for the remainder of the year. So to your question, any towing company would have to pass certain standards and inspections, one time. Clerk would, the town, the PD would know that there's a license for the various towing companies, that's it. When you see the side of the road, a random vehicle pulled over and doing an inspection, that's usually for haulers or things, they're not going to be pulling over towing companies, because the PD will know this
That they're
particular tow
inspected.
company has a license for 2018,
Okay.
somebody's already inspected it, stamped it, and they've issued a license, so we're going to presume that they're good. So that's kind of the regulation that we want to make sure we're getting quality, and also, from a more important standpoint, that the towing company's not gouging people
And
and
have,
charging exorbitant fees. We're
Right.
trying to manage what they're actually,
so who actually, because let's be honest, we have an ordinance now, and I happen to have a friend, and I'm not gonna say what tow company, but there was a tow company, and she ended up getting towed, and I was privy to the bill, and I thought, holy mother of pearl, that's absurd. But if I go back, and now I do, because I've read the old ordinance, and the prices are so much different, but they charged whatever they wanted anyway.
Right.
So who's responsible, even if we pass this ordinance, who's responsible for monitoring what bill you get, what bill she gets, what bill they get? Unless somebody complains, nobody's gonna know they're price gouging.
well, your point is the right one. I mean, technically, when you issue a license, it's a license. It can be taken away, and under your regulations, there can be penalties imposed to the tow company if they're not complying with all the regulations that you've laid out as a condition to a license.
Right.
So you're going to need to have somebody that has an inflated bill, I will say, provide that notice to the village, and give you the authority to take some action against the company under the accordance with the license that was granted. That's the whole purpose is to try.
Right, so we would need somebody who'd be willing to file a complaint, right?
That would be the easiest, correct.
And so how do we as a municipality get that information out there? Because we already have an ordinance. My point is simply this. I feel that if we worked on maybe lowering the license fee and allowing them to adjust their prices, they wouldn't feel the need to gouge. You know what I mean? In other words, and this is just my opinion, because Neil's looking at me with stink eye right now. I think if you lower the cost of the license, let's hypothetically speaking, I'm charging you $500 instead of $1,000. That gives them room to make a profit in a normal manner as opposed to gouging people. It encourages them to be a little more honest, I think.
So let me just give you I'll just give you a scenario. So I know of 2 cases in the past 2 years where somebody was towed in an accident, okay? And in both cases, the bill came to just under $1,000, okay? When you review the actual bill, which they had the right to do as the current ordinance exists, there were fees in there that were not based on municipal law, about cleanup, for instance. They're supposed to be doing that no charge. They put a fee.
Does it say no charge? Because I couldn't find it anywhere that said no charge.
I can furnish it to you.
Okay.
So, the second most important part of it is when they talk about time and the winching, and then the storage. and then the municipal fees and the administrative fees, and before you know it, it's $1,000.
Sure.
You know, just as an example, I got towed one of my trucks from the ABC school on Freeland and went to Tony Crosby's, which is pretty much one end of the village to the other, $68. The only thing I didn't have was an accident. $1,000 bill, $68. 10,000-pound vehicle and an automobile. I don't think adjusting a fee is going to do that.
Well, I don't think anything.
I just think
we do is gonna
currently in
keep
the
it
ordinance,
honest.
it says in the ordinance, under accidents, there are no guidelines. And I think accordingly, I think businesses are taking advantage of it. That's my personal.
Well, I'm not
opinion.
disagreeing with you. I agree with you. My point, though, is they're still gouging. No matter what that ordinance says, they're still charging for things that they shouldn't be charging for, correct? Because they're doing it right now, Neil.
Well, there's no ordinance to enforce it.
There is an ordinance.
Not under the towing, not under the accident. That's where they do it. Did your friend have an accident?
She didn't have an accident.
All right, then I have to look at it. I don't know.
So in other words.
She got towed for not being parked where she was supposed to be parked. But there was a lot of things in there that, like, there was some ridiculous stuff in there.
So if I get into an accident,
Storage fee, like ridiculous things that probably don't belong in there.
if I get into an accident, let's say my car needs to be towed, who's calling the towing company?
Police.
The police are.
It's
And,
rotation.
and how do they decide?
Rotation.
Okay, it's rotation. So depending, one place might charge me a certain amount, one place might charge me another.
So the concept is your towing ordinance as it currently exists and also the amendments you're looking to take. The licenses, you try to standardize the fees. And if certain companies apply for, some don't meet the criteria, they don't get a license. They're not gonna get called. So you have a certain, every year you have towing companies that are approved towing companies for various situations. If there's an accident, your example,
Right.
there's a rotation. Police are supposed to look at the rotation, who's next in line, call that towing company. They're not rate shopping because the fee schedule, how it should be, is
Set.
A, B, and C should be somewhat very similar. And that's the goal.
But
So,
also, can I just, and I may be wrong, Scott, so if I am, correct me. If it's an accident, you have the right to choose your tow company.
That's what
If
I,
your car is being towed because it's an accident, you don't have a driver's license and it's being impounded, you don't have the right to choose your tow company.
I
that's
don't
my
know that
question.
you
Can I
have,
call and start asking people what they're gonna charge me?
if you're at the scene of an accident, the police have jurisdiction of the whole scene.
Right.
right, and you call a tow company from, Sullivan County. and-
Oh, no,
I'm just saying, you don't really have,
I'm not-
I don't know that to
Right.
be true. You know,
I think I might be
to
right.
Neil's point, if there's an accident, they have an
No, I would
obligation
think
to
you'd
make the
call
road safe
somebody
and
to
clear
know.
the vehicles.
Yeah.
Absolutely, but I think you should ask the chief, but I think I might be right on this one. I think as long as it's not a criminal thing or your car needs to be impounded, I think you can say, I don't want X, Y, and Z to tow my car, I would prefer, you know,
Are you giving them a choice from a list?
well, let's just say the next one on the list is Bob.
No, but just so we're talking apples to apples here. I think what the chief may have said was, if we have 5 towing companies approved in the village, you may give the motorist the opportunity to select which one they want, as opposed to, I don't care who has a license, I'm gonna call my friend, and that vehicle will sit here until such time as he or she gets here. I don't think you have that jurisdiction. You may have.
I don't know,
Yeah.
and I didn't ask the chief,
Right.
this is just something that I
I think that's probably more
Right.
along the lines of maybe some discretion. You may have it, but it's not.
Right, no, I would assume you'd call somebody in the village, but there's quite a few, yeah.
Well, under 18520, it shall be unlawful for any tow company or tow operator to move, remove, or tow away any motor vehicle involved in an accident without first notifying the village of Monroe police of the motor vehicle accident, obtaining their approval to move or remove said vehicle involved in any such accident. If at that point, you're suggesting that maybe there's an opportunity to then call E instead of A in the rotation, I think you'd still have to make a notification to the police department, if that's even allowable.
Well, no, I'm not disputing whether the police department has to know or not. I'm saying that I believe that if I'm in a car accident, I don't have to have A because they're next on the list. I can choose C.
I don't know. We can find out though.
I think that's,
It's probably gonna depend on where they take it to.
But as far as the fee schedule goes, Irene, to
Yes.
your point earlier about your friend, so if your friend is parked somewhere where she shouldn't be,
and she was.
was it during the day?
No, it
Was
was,
it at night?
it was in the snow.
And it was in the snow? Okay, so she has rates here that apply to those three situations. Now, did it get stored at a building somewhere, a facility?
Mm-hmm.
And how long was it there for?
Overnight?
And then it was removed?
Yes.
Okay, well, I could give you the amount of that bill, and if it's not that amount, then that person needs to come in.
No, listen,
And we need to
it's
find out.
I understand that. I get it. I know what the ordinance says. My point is, it says that already, X, Y, and Z, and they're still gouging. Why? Because nobody knows that you're not allowed to charge me $300 to store my car for 24 hours. You're not allowed to charge me $10 per square inch of a wench. You know, nobody knows that. They just get the bill and they pay it. Nobody's holding them accountable. There's no accountability to the businesses, and making another ordinance still doesn't mean that there's going to be accountability. Nobody's standing over top of Friedman's and Loyal and
Well, if you
Kraz is saying, that's wrong, you're wrong.
If you make, right, listen, I guess you could fight anything, but if you make an ordinance and the intent of that ordinance is to enforce and to protect people that come into the village and have the unfortunate situation of being in a tow environment.
Agreed, but we
And
already...
if you challenge this ordinance, we have to have enough teeth in this ordinance that you're gonna wish you never did show up at that call.
I understand.
So if we make that clear, and this ordinance, I think, does that, I think Scott spent a lot of time on it with the chief and I think once that's accomplished, then I think that's done. And listen, I have no problem charging the guy, listen, if you're, in violation of this, and it's clear, and we can figure that out, then you're gonna have a problem with this.
And they should.
Okay.
Again, not disputing, I'm just saying, it's great that we're putting more teeth, so to speak, in an ordinance, but if nobody's there to make sure it's being adhered to,
All right, so you want to send out some sort of, constant contact, make a public announcement that we have a new,
well, something,
I got it.
that, and I don't know, I wanted to be heard about maybe not charging so much, and maybe making them a little bit more honest. I don't know, maybe it would give them the incentive to say, you know what, I'm not gonna do that anymore. They're giving me, they're entrusting in me to be a good neighbor, I don't know. I'm just, hope for humanity.
And this is going to be the next agenda?
Yeah, I guess.
Is that the one that has the workshops and the, okay.
All right, public comment? Mr. Girl.
Good evening. I know I brought this up like 2 years ago. Doing your public hearing on your budget at 6 o'clock at night, I think is a shame. You may have people that are getting off a train or getting off a bus that may want to come if they find out they're going to be hit with a tax impact. By doing your meetings at 6 o'clock at night, think of your commuters that probably can't get here. So I would hope that you would change the time. Last year, we started it at 6:30. I talked for 29 minutes, if you remember, on the budget, and I didn't even get into the water fund. And I probably plan on doing the same thing this year. But I think you need to think of the people that are trying to get home from work that maybe want to come to your public hearing and talk about their taxes and talk about the budget. One other thing, I see on the letters of credit expiration, you have Gilbert Street Smith, and then you have the Smith Farm. They're two separate entities. One is this Gilbert Street Improvements.
One's the infrastructure on the road, John, and the other one is actually property.
Okay, I know when that project was approved, Smith Farm was supposed to be responsible for a traffic light at Gilbert Street and 17M. Is that still in?
And I believe Crystal Run as well is participating in that.
Well, it was Smith Farm, because that was before Crystal Run was built.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm just saying that I can look it up easily, but I believe that when they had come before the planning board and they had made certain averages and conversation, I believe part of the final approval was a percentage, because they had the same traffic consultant, and I believe it was Mazer. I could be wrong, but my memory tells me that, and they were going to participate in that traffic light financially.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that's not forgotten,
Oh, no,
because that was,
absolutely not.
That was approved, like I say, that was done long before Crystal Run
Absolutely.
popped in the picture. So that's all I got, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead, Tim.
First of all, very nice meeting tonight. You did a fabulous job.
Thank you very much.
Two things I want to mention. One is that there was a letter sent by my attorney to the board.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if you got that or not, but he was asking I have it read into the record this evening. You can read it in the record. It's a public part of public comment. It's up to you. And second thing is, I think that, and as somebody you know about, this coming Sunday, I would offer to the two guys who are running for mayor here, Mayor Purcell, to sit around the table and talk while it's live on YouTube, to talk about their opinions about the village and how they can solve it. So anybody can see it on YouTube. I just don't want a lot of people running into the house because I want to be sued again. So trying to do it politically correct. And so I'm offering that out. If they decide they want to do it, they can reach me by Facebook or whatever, but I'd like to take a moment and have it read into the record, if you don't mind.
Scott.
Well, no, I guess you can do it
Go
now.
right ahead, Mr. Betts. Lead away.
Pam's gonna read it.
Please.
Some things I don't do good.
What is your name?
Pamela Lee. Okay. Well, it's addressed to Mr. Mayor Purcell, and it's regarding the zoning petition for minor zoning amendment of HRR Court, our file number 12844-003. Dear Mayor Purcell and Village Board of Trustee members, I'm writing this letter on behalf of my client, HRR Court, and its president, Timothy Mitz, the petitioner, having a pending petition before your board to slightly modify the definition of convalescent homes and to include that use as a permitted use in the SR10 zoning district. This would allow HRR Court to complete its rehabilitation of this 10-bedroom facility to provide rooms for 8 to 10 seniors on the second floor, the owner/operators on the third floor with shared kitchen, dining, and living space on the first floor. As I am sure you are all aware, HRR Court has been processing its application for an interpretation before the ZBA for several months, seeking an interpretation that use is essentially the same use as the prior group home for developmentally disabled or in the alternate seniors living totally independently. Sharing facilities constituted a family. The ZBA members reviewed volumes of materials and affidavits from operators and others involved in providing intermediate care services to seniors, dealing the exact scope of the proposed use. The 8 to 10 seniors would reside in the facility living independently with full-time staff on site to assist the seniors as needed with issues such as reminders to take medication, arranging for rides, reminding them of times their family members would pick them up, and provided ongoing counseling case evaluation. The residents could come and go as they pleased, would not need full-time medical care, and there would not be medicine prescribed or administered by the staff. In making its determination on the specific use related to the interpretation, the ZBA chair stated that he was necessarily against the use, but felt like the ZBA was being asked to make a legislative determination on this matter, which they were not authorized to do. While I may not necessarily totally agree with the ZBA chair's statement, I do understand the point he was making and advised him that we had been attempting to petition your board to take that legislative action, which would make crystal clear the uses proposed is permitted and could impose any conditions on that use that the village board felt necessary to protect the neighboring residents to this or any other proposed facility. The consideration and granting of the petition would be consistent with the village's recently adopted comprehensive plan, which recommends zoning amendments that would provide some flexibility and alternative uses to reutilize, rehabilitate, and improve many of the large estate-like homes in the village that may be falling into disrepair because they are no longer marketable as large single-family uses. While I would not dare speak for the ZBA members, I believe that your board told them based upon their now vast knowledge of the specifics of the proposed use, those board members may well agree that while they were not necessarily ready to make an interpretation, that they did not see that the use would pose any problems to the neighborhood. In fact, could be a use that could be beneficial for the village. I suggest that the board members contact them and discuss this matter with them directly. I also respectfully request that the board review the affidavits and materials discussing the scope of the use as proposed to answer some of the questions you each may have relating to the scope of the proposed use. What we are seeking by submission of this letter is an opportunity to clear the air of what we believe may have become too political of an issue. I have spoken to my client at length, and he acknowledges that his actions may be part of what made this a political rather than a pure zoning issue. We all believe that if we were all to take a step back and look at the specific aspects of the use proposed, it could provide a real opportunity for the many senior citizens to remain in the village, be close to family and village services, and continue to be productive residents of the village of Monroe. The consideration of the petition and amendment of the zoning code would also allow the applicant to complete its rehabilitation efforts to restore this beautiful facility, which is listed on the National Historic Register of Historic Homes, to its former glory, serving as a true historic landmark for the village. I respectfully request that you place this matter on your next available village board meeting, which will occur after the election, and allow us to take this matter outside of the politics and provide you with the facts related to the petition and address any comments your board may have so that we can proceed in a thoughtful and amicable manner to bring this matter to fruition one way or another. Thank you in advance for your opportunity to appear and look forward to discussing this project with you in more detail. Yours very truly, John C. Capello. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? No? Okay then, I need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second?
A second.
Call the question, Wayne?
Aye.
Neil? Deb? Have a safe, lovely evening. Stay safe tomorrow.
This one.